So you probably, off the top of my head, you're about 400 games in at this stage now, late 20s. Majority of the games in the championship. Really consistent championship goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Very trustworthy. A move to Stoke, and then a Premier League debut at 33. So tell us, give us an insight, Granty, into did you think your chance in the Prem or to play in the Prem had gone? Were you surprised when it came about, and then how did you deal with it? Because it's an amazing story.
Yeah, good question, mate. The answer to that short one is yes. I thought my chance had gone, and I thought I'd missed the boat, and I was gutted. I was gutted about that fact. And the wife will tell you I used to harp on it. I used to sit there watching Match of the Day, and I'd get halfway through Match of the Day, and I'd be like, it just dawned on me that, I'm 30, I'm 31, and I've still not played in the Premier League, and I can't believe it. And look at this guy who's playing, and I played against him last year. They got promoted, and yeah, he's a great goalkeeper, but I feel like I could be there and be green with envy watching lads playing in that Premier League. And yeah, I really did. I thought I'd missed the boat, and I wondered. I really questioned myself quite deeply actually about that fact and what it was about myself, or what it was about my career, or about how I played the game that was stopping me from making that transition into a Premier League goalkeeper. And it was a little bit difficult. It was going for a bit of a tough time because I was at the end of my sort of Derby County spell, and for whatever reason, whether it be justified or not, I found myself out the team. And that was a tough one to take because I'd come back and things had been going great and it looked like we were heading for a promotion, and we never quite got over the line. And then this call comes, I'll be honest, a little bit out of the blue, because the call comes, do you want to come over to Stoke and help us out? And it didn't take me, I would have ran down the A50 from Derby to Stoke to get there. And I near enough did, to be honest. I was there sharpish, bright and early the next morning after that call. And there was just a huge sense of relief when I arrived, even though when I arrived with, there was no guarantee of any games. Shay Given, a guy who I've admired watching throughout his Premier League career, one of the Premier League legends.
Yeah.
He was in goal at the time. Jack was injured. And I arrived with this kind of, wow, I'm at Stoke, Premier League side, some really good players at the, Arnautovic, Shaqiri, Bojan. I think we had 5 Champions League winners in the squad.
Yeah, I remember that stuff, yeah.
It was incredible. And this is Lee Grant from Derby, who's never played a game in the Premier League, and he's 33. And to a degree, Tim, as well, I could kind of sense a little bit of, from the other guys within the squad. It's like, in fact, I remember a conversation I had with Ryan Shawcross early in my first week, and Ryan said to me, "How old are you, Granny?" And he sort of said it because I think he was a little bit baffled himself as to why Stoke had chosen to bring me in out of all the goalkeepers they could have brought in that moment. And I was like, I'm 33, right? I'm 33. Yeah. And me and Ryan had a great relationship. And yeah, I'm 33. I could see the cogs turning, thinking, what are we doing signing a 33-year-old who's never played in the Premier League? And this is the guy that, if Shay goes down, or, if he can get himself in the team, that he's going to be the one who's going to help us out for the rest of this season. But do you know what? I put all of that kind of self-doubt to one side. I was so happy to be there. If you could have seen the smile on my face driving into Stoke every morning. And I'll be honest, I think that was part of the reason I found myself in the team quite quickly, because I was able to train at a really high level, which I've done throughout my career.
Yeah.
And actually what I found as well, which was a little bit of a surprise to me on arriving at Stoke, was that my high level of work ethic and training was actually it was actually good enough for a Premier League side, and it wasn't necessarily the norm. So people were I think a little bit taken back with my attitude and how driven I was and how happy and excited I was, and how, this guy's 33 and he wants to be the last one on the training ground still, and he's just delighted to be here like he's won a competition almost.
That's amazing.
I think it showed a little bit, to the point where the gaffer ended up not really having a choice but to put me in the team. And once I got in the team, I sort of didn't really look back. So yeah, that was just a really, really sort of unbelievable turnaround from where I was just previous at Derby, sort of down in the dumps, out of the team. Oh, my career's, where's it going? Am I going to find myself slipping down the leagues and all the rest of it? And I managed to, just by sheer, I think, determination and grit, just flip it and turn it on its head and end up making my Premier League debut. So it was just a really, really, really good 12 months for me.
Brilliant. Okay, so no, that's amazing, Grantin. It sounds like some of the like your morals and kind of your standards actually got you in the team and got you your debut, which is great for people to hear. So I believe in how they play and what they do. So and just hearing you speak there, like there might have been a chance that you were like too eager to play when the chance came, and maybe questioning, are you ready? Or if you thought other players were thinking that around your age as well, how did you then kind of like approach your debut and then your following performances, if there was some of that kind of stuff going in your head?
Well, that's probably the beauty of where I was at in my career. So you're absolutely right that if that situation in isolation had happened in my early 20s, for example, I perhaps wouldn't have found myself having the same success that I did at Stoke, because I would have been looking around the changing room at Champions League winners and thinking, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. But where I was at in my career was, okay, I've amassed 400 odd games. This is an opportunity that I've really, really wanted. There was no real need for me to be tense or to be over eager about the situation, because I found out quite quickly that my level was good enough. So my training level, I was able to quite quickly adapt to the different sort of speed, and working with some really good players. But I felt that actually, if anything, it really suited me, and I felt really comfortable in the environment really quickly. And one of the main things that I was able to do was I was able to continue giving over myself. So I was able to continue bringing my personality to others. So I didn't, shy away from being my loud, usual self in training and driving other people on and demanding from other people. And I think very quickly, after a period of 2 or 3 weeks, people realised that, actually, this is a guy that we can trust, and he knows what he's talking about. And it just all fell into place because of that. As I say, I think that point in my career, as odd as it is to be making your debut in the Premier League at 33, probably for me and my character couldn't have been any better. There couldn't have been any better moment. If it had happened earlier on in my career, I would have perhaps just brushed it off, and it would have been just another thing that I was doing. And whereas I'd had this huge build up to this event that arrived, and it went okay. My debut it should have been 1-0 Stoke. It ended up 1-1. We got done with a near post corner. Someone didn't track somebody, and they got a very good header. Actually, I think it was Salomon Rondon. Very good header across me at the end. But I had a good game, a couple of good saves. Managed to impact the team in the right way, come and help them out when I needed to, set pieces and all the rest of it, which is, a big thing at Stoke. If you need to be able to go and do that at Stoke. So even though we didn't win the game, I felt like I took real heart from that first performance. And the next game was Old Trafford, obviously away at Man United, which is, of course, a difficult game for anybody. But I prepared so immaculately well for that game. And in a sense, I've been preparing for that game since being released from Watford at 13. I think kind of everything really felt like it sort of just arrived at that moment where I just felt really ready and really calm and really prepared. And I had an outstanding game, and that just set me up for the rest of the season. I took so much confidence from that game, and it really carried me. It carried me up to Christmas and that difficult period, and then, you know, took a period of assessing where I was at and what it was I want to do and what I wanted to achieve from that season. And I just reset myself and went again for the rest of that season, and ended up being Stokes Player of the Year. And it was just like, oh, what a story! Yeah. What a story! Unbelievable. But at the time, as it was happening, it all felt very under control, very normal, very process driven. So every game was like, okay, who we're playing? Okay, we're playing Liverpool away. I've never played at Anfield. Doesn't matter. I'll take all that out of the equation. Let's look at how Liverpool are playing. What's Salah doing when he comes inside? What's Mane doing when he's getting to the byline, or when he comes inside on his right foot? And just really breaking things down to the detail and looking at those details and focusing on all those things to just give me the best chance of performing. And I did that in each and every game. And as I say, managed to get some really, really good results from it. And just loved every minute of it along the way as well, which is most important, I think.
It's an amazing story. And, you know, thinking back, like I was lucky enough to watch it closely and how you performed. And anyone who's not seen it, you know, to make your debut at 33 and then Player of the Year, and you were, you know, so you might not want to blow your own trumpet, but you were so consistent that year, and not consistent as in like just having steady games. You consistently kind of like 8 out of 10 every week. It was amazing to watch. And one bit I just want to go back and get a bit more insight on was when you said you prepared immaculately for Man United. That kind of second game, you know, obviously huge game. What do you mean prepared immaculately? Like what does that look like at that top level? Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, so well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I worked for the last, or have worked and still work for the last 10 years with a gentleman called Martin Perry. And I'm trying to think of his official term or his official title. You might call him a sports psychologist or a confidence coach, but really, in all honesty, he's a guy that I've built a really excellent relationship with since I was at Burnley. I think we started working together, and he's helped me prepare for games, understand myself, my game, opposition better. He's helped me work on my confidence, my self-belief. But all of those things aside, now, or what I say now, when we arrived at the point of 33, heading into my first Premier League games, as it were, we just focused on game preparation, and we would spend. It's not something I've really told anybody, so this is quite odd that we're getting into this, but it's probably good stuff for somebody to listen. We'd spend a couple of hours pre-game, the same as you would if you were a manager and you're preparing for the opposition. You've got to look at how they play and where their threats are coming from, and then you want to look at how you're going to then apply your game into that. And we'd do that. We would just do that for every game, and partly because we were in new territory a lot of the time. So there were a lot of times throughout the course of that season where I was playing in stadiums that I hadn't played at, against players I hadn't played against. And so it was really important that I made sure that any holes in the preparation, i.e., well, I've never been there before, so I don't necessarily know what that's going to look and feel like. So any holes, we made sure that we'd filled them pre-game. And I'm always one for preparation anyway, and I stand by that, you know, forever. I think it's important to make sure you know what it is you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So yeah, I mean, that Man United game in isolation was no different. It was a case of really understanding and getting into the minds of the opposition, thinking about any lessons that I'd learned from my debut the previous week, and making sure I applied them correctly, thinking about what it's going to feel like to be at Old Trafford, how that may or may not impact on me as a person or as a player in the moment, and just making sure that I was ready for all of those, so that come the first whistle, I was prepared and ready and able to perform free of any worries or any baggage or anything else that was going to prevent me doing my job.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing insight, mate. And I think loads of people will pick up off that. And what that kind of means to me is like just think about thinking. If that makes sense. Like consciously think about your game. Think about, you said, how you're going to feel, what you were seeing. That kind of mental rehearsal can be so powerful. And thank you for sharing that. It's amazing. And just to move on, really. Well, I'm going to move on to the next section in a minute, but tell us about the move to Man United, because you've played for Stoke. You've played like 30 odd games for Stoke over a couple of years, and then Man United come calling. Tell us a little bit about that and what went on.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's almost a carbon copy of me leaving Derby to head to Stoke type of scenario, really. And one of the funniest something that sort of sums it up really is I had a text message from Peter Crouch after I signed for United, and he just texted me and he just said, "Granty, some swan song you're having." Because, as I say, when I arrived at Stoke, you could have been forgiven for thinking, oh, this is a guy that's winding down, he's 33, and all the other things. And, that wasn't the case. But then I find myself out of the team again at Stoke, and it's a little bit like, oh, woe is me, and why should I be out of the team? I'm player of the season and all of this. And you could quite easily feel a little bit sorry for myself. And actually, for a period, I did feel a bit sorry for myself. Because I felt like it was a little bit unjust, but that's football. And then it kind of happens all over again, really. It kind of, I won't say it's out of the blue and completely unexpected and really odd that I should be getting a phone call from Man United, but from where I was at, from the context of where I was at 2 or 3 years previously, it is a little bit out of the blue and a bit left field to be getting a phone call from Man United to come and come and help them out. But actually, in reality, when you break it down, it was a really, for me, a wonderful, wonderful opportunity that I'm still enjoying now to this moment. And for Manchester United, it just makes sense, really. It just makes sense for them to get somebody on board who's got experience, who has now, built up, massive games in the Championship, showed he can do that. He showed that he can perform at a really high level in the Premier League. We know this is a good guy and a trustworthy professional. So for Manchester United, it seemed like a no-brainer. And for me, as a Manchester United fan, and listen, forget about being a Manchester United fan. I think any football player, they'd be lying to you if they don't say that it's not an ambition to play for one of the big football clubs in this country. And I'm no different. And as I say, I am a United fan. So for me, it was like all my Christmases at once when the phone call comes in from my agent saying, the conversation went a little bit like this. It was like, Lee, I know you're not going to be happy because you want to go and play this summer. You want to go and find somewhere to play. But just hear me out. So I'm thinking, oh, what's he got here? What's he ringing me for? Yeah. And he said, Manchester United. And I just said, stop right there. I said, if they called you and you've called me first to ask what I want to do, just call them straight back and tell them, let's get this done ASAP. And that was kind of how the conversation went, because I couldn't wait to be a Manchester United player. So proud to have that Manchester United badge on my training kit and then get an opportunity to play, to have the trust of one of the top coaches in the world, Jose Mourinho, to bring me in, knowing that, you know, his number 2 at the time, Sergio, wasn't going to be fit for a really, you know, for a good chunk of that first part of that Premier League season. So I was going to be involved on the bench, ready to step in if anything was to happen to David. So to know that he had that trust in me was really, really, it was great. It was such a nice feeling, and I felt so proud to be given that opportunity, and still proud now. I'll be honest with you, still proud now, Tim, that I can call myself a Manchester United player and have actually, you know, gone on to make my debut for the club. So
yeah, amazing.
Just really, 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 really proud.
Yeah, and much deserved in my opinion, mate. I think so.